Please subscribe to our channel, Pacific Front Untold, and be sure to leave a comment after watching a video.
The Battle of Leyte Gulf, which occurred between October 23 and 26, 1944, remains the largest naval engagement in history. This titanic clash occurred in the waters around the Philippine islands of Leyte, Samar, and Luzon during World War II, involving the United States Navy and the Imperial Japanese Navy. The battle's enormity and pivotal role in the Pacific theater underscore its historical significance. The engagement at Leyte Gulf was crucial to the Allied campaign to liberate the Philippines from Japanese control. Led by General Douglas MacArthur, who vowed, "I shall return," the Allies aimed to secure a foothold on Leyte Island to facilitate the liberation of the Philippines. The Japanese, recognizing the strategic importance of the Philippines, launched Operation Sho-Go to thwart the Allied landings and maintain control over the region. The Battle of Leyte Gulf comprised 4 main engagements, each distinct in its operational context and tactical execution. The Battle of the Sibuyan Sea, a crucial segment of the larger Leyte Gulf engagement, unfolded on October 24, 1944. This battle was characterized by the strategic aerial assault executed by American carrier-based aircraft against the Japanese fleet navigating through the Sibuyan Sea. The operation aimed to weaken the Japanese naval strength and disrupt their plans to counter the Allied landings on Leyte. At the heart of this engagement was the targeting and sinking of the Musashi, one of the 2 Yamato-class battleships, the heaviest and most powerfully armed battleships ever constructed. The Musashi, displacing over 72,000 tons when fully loaded, was a formidable force, boasting an array of 18.1-inch guns and heavily armored against attacks. Throughout the day, the Musashi was subjected to multiple waves of attack from American aircraft, which included dive bombers, torpedo bombers, and fighters. The relentless aerial assault launched from carriers such as the USS Intrepid, USS Cabot, and USS Essex involved dropping bombs and torpedoes on the Musashi and the other vessels in the Japanese fleet. Despite its advanced armor and defensive capabilities, the Musashi sustained critical damage from numerous bomb and torpedo hits, which led to its eventual sinking. This loss represented a significant blow to the Japanese naval power and showcased the effectiveness of coordinated aerial warfare in neutralizing major naval threats. The Battle of the Sibuyan Sea demonstrated the shifting dynamics of naval warfare, where air power played an increasingly decisive role. It also highlighted the vulnerability of traditional battleships in the face of aerial assault, marking a turning point in naval strategy and tactics. The sinking of the Musashi and the damage inflicted on other Japanese vessels significantly reduced the combat effectiveness of the Japanese. They contributed to the overall success of the Allied forces in the Battle of the Leyte Gulf. The Battle of the Surigao Strait, which occurred on October 25, 1944, stands out in naval history as the last time battleships engaged each other in a classic line of battle formation. This confrontation was part of the larger Leyte Gulf engagements, where the Allied forces aimed to prevent the Japanese fleet from disrupting the American landings on Leyte Island. In this battle, the Allied naval forces, led by Vice Admiral Jesse B. Oldendorf, executed a masterful tactical maneuver known as crossing the T. This tactic, a fundamental concept in naval warfare, involves positioning one's fleet so that it can fire broadsides at the enemy, who can only respond with their forward guns. Effectively, the T-crosser can bring all its firepower to bear, while the enemy is limited in its response. The Japanese Southern Force, commanded by Vice Admiral Soji Nishimura, and later joined by Vice Admiral Kiyohide Shima's force, attempted to pass through the Surigao Strait to reach and attack the Allied landing beaches at Leyte. However, they were unaware that they were sailing into a well-prepared ambush. The Allied forces, consisting of battleships, cruisers, and destroyers, were strategically positioned in the strait. Many of these battleships, including the USS West Virginia, USS Maryland, and USS Mississippi, had been repaired and updated after being damaged in the attack on Pearl Harbor, and they were eager for retribution. As the Japanese fleet entered the strait, they were first attacked by American PT boats and destroyers, which launched torpedoes that succeeded in sinking one of the Japanese battleships and damaging others. Following this initial engagement, as the Japanese continued to advance, they were confronted by the waiting Allied battleships and cruisers. These Allied ships, aligned for battle, commenced a devastating bombardment, crossing the T against the Japanese fleet. The Japanese force was severely outmatched and suffered heavy losses, including the sinking of the battleship Fuso and heavy cruiser Mogami, among others. Allied forces' strategic positioning and superior firepower led to a decisive victory in the Surigao Strait. This engagement not only marked the end of the era of battleship dominance in naval warfare, but also showcased the effectiveness of combined arms tactics, including the use of destroyers, PT boats, and aircraft in conjunction with the battleship fleet to achieve a comprehensive victory. The Battle of Cape Engaño, fought on October 25 and 26, 1944, was a critical component of the larger Leyte Gulf engagements, characterized by strategic deception and naval maneuvering. This battle occurred on the northern flank of the operational theater, where Admiral William F. Halsey, Jr., commander of the U.S. Third Fleet, was lured away from the main action near Leyte Gulf by a Japanese decoy operation. The Japanese Northern Force, commanded by Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa, played a pivotal role in this deception. Ozawa's force included several aircraft carriers, such as the Zuikaku, the last of the carriers that had participated in the attack on Pearl Harbor, and a number of smaller carriers and escorts. These carriers, however, were not fully equipped with operational aircraft or experienced air crews. Their primary mission was to act as bait to draw the American fleet away from the Leyte Gulf and the vulnerable landing forces there. Admiral Halsey took the bait. Believing that he could eliminate the Japanese carrier threat once and for all, he directed the bulk of his mighty Third Fleet, including fast battleships, cruisers, and destroyers, northward to engage Ozawa's force. This decision left the San Bernardino Strait inadequately defended, enabling the central force of the Japanese Navy, under Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita, to advance towards the American beachheads at Leyte unopposed. The battle itself, off Cape Engaño, was a one-sided affair. Halsey's fleet, including several carrier groups, launched a series of airstrikes against Ozawa's carriers. Over the course of the 2 days, American aircraft achieved considerable success, sinking the Japanese carriers Zuikaku, Zuiho, Chitose, and Chiyoda, along with a destroyer. The engagement demonstrated the overwhelming air superiority of the American forces and the effective use of carrier-based aircraft in naval warfare. However, the strategic implications of the battle were profound. Halsey's decision to pursue Ozawa left the Central Philippine Sea and the Leyte invasion fleet vulnerable to Kurita's force, which nearly resulted in a significant defeat for the Allies in the Battle off Samar. The Battle of Cape Engaño is often cited as a classic example of successful naval misdirection, showcasing the importance of intelligence, reconnaissance, and strategic decision-making in naval warfare. The Battle off Samar, occurring on October 25, 1944, is renowned as one of the most dramatic and unexpected confrontations in naval history. This battle was part of the larger Leyte Gulf engagements, but what set it apart was the sheer disparity in force sizes and the display of extraordinary courage by the American sailors. The American force involved in this battle, known as Taffy 3, was one of the 3 task groups of the 7th Fleet's escort carrier force. Commanded by Rear Admiral Clifton Sprague, Taffy 3 consisted of 6 escort carriers, 3 destroyers, and 4 destroyer escorts. These ships were primarily designed for anti-submarine warfare and aircraft transportation, not for engaging a major enemy battle fleet. Opposing them was the central force of the Japanese Navy, commanded by Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita. This force included 4 battleships, 6 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 11 destroyers. Among the Japanese battleships was the Yamato, the largest battleship ever constructed, which alone displaced more than the entire Taffy 3 group combined. The battle commenced early in the morning, when Taffy 3 unexpectedly encountered Kurita's force. The Japanese sought to break through the American defenses and attack the amphibious forces in Leyte Gulf, which were vulnerable without the protection of Halsey's 3rd Fleet, then engaged off Cape Engaño. Despite the overwhelming odds, the American forces engaged the Japanese with a tenacity and bravery that has become legendary. The escort carriers launched their aircraft, which, although primarily armed with depth charges and other anti-submarine weapons, attacked the Japanese ships with whatever they had, including machine guns and small bombs. Meanwhile, the American destroyers and destroyer escorts executed daring torpedo attacks, pressing close to the larger Japanese ships to launch their weapons. The USS Johnston, a Fletcher-class destroyer, exemplified this courage. Commanded by Lieutenant Commander Ernest E. Evans, the Johnston charged the Japanese line, firing torpedoes and scoring hits on the heavy cruiser Kumano. Despite being severely damaged and ultimately sunk, the Johnston and her crew inflicted significant damage and disruption on the Japanese formation. The aggressive defense mounted by Taffy 3 confused and delayed the Japanese, leading Kurita to believe he was engaging a much larger force. This misunderstanding, combined with the ferocity of the American attack, compelled Kurita to order a withdrawal, fearing an imminent counterattack by American battleships that did not actually exist in the vicinity. The Battle off Samar highlighted the importance of individual valor and tactical ingenuity in warfare. The Americans, despite being outgunned and outnumbered, managed to hold off a superior enemy force, safeguarding the landing operations at Leyte and contributing significantly to the overall success of the Leyte Gulf campaign. This battle, often referred to as the last stand of the Tin Can Sailors, stands as a testament to the courage and resolve of the American naval personnel involved. The Battle of Leyte Gulf was a crushing defeat for the Japanese Navy, marking a turning point in the Pacific War. It significantly impaired Japan's naval capabilities, leading to Allied dominance in the region and setting the stage for Japan's eventual surrender. The battle also signified the ascendancy of naval air power, heralding the decline of the battleship as the predominant force in maritime conflict. In retrospect, the Battle of Leyte Gulf was more than just a colossal naval engagement. It was a critical juncture in naval history that exemplified the evolution of naval warfare and the extraordinary courage of those who fought on the vast expanses of the Pacific.